Good, happy Tuesday morning, November 2nd, 2021. I'm Riley King. Welcome to this Tuesday morning edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. It's time to rise and shine and grab a good cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy this Tuesday morning edition of The Morning Show with Riley King, where we have a little bit of everything for you in this program. So, let's begin right now. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. Let's get started right now. First up, at least 17 injured in Tokyo subway attack. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Horror in Tokyo. At least 17 people injured when a knife-wielding man wearing a Joker-like costume attacked riders on a crowded subway. Ian Pannell is in London with the latest. Good morning, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, George. That's right. At least 17 injured in that horrific subway attack in Japan. A man dressed in a costume similar to Batman's Joker stabbing terrified passengers in Tokyo, also setting fire to some seats in the carriage. Commuters desperate to escape having to climb through the windows. Local TV showing firefighters, police and paramedics having to rescue passengers. Authorities say 17 were injured. One man in his 70s is in a serious condition. The attacker was identified as a 24-year-old man. He was arrested on the spot and he's now being investigated for attempted murder. His motive is unknown, but Japanese police telling ABC News the suspect confessed that he wanted to kill and get the death penalty. George?
What a story, Ian. Thank you very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. How burning of Amazon rainforest affects animals. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
We're going to go now to Matt Gutman, who's going to take us inside the Amazon rainforest. He's there with a look at what the burning forest means for the survival of animals. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Robin. This is Inca Terra. It is literally one of the most biodiverse spots on the planet. And everywhere around me, in the acre around me on this rickety sky bridge, take a look down. There are about 130 feet below me, are thousands and thousands of species. And just on the other side of this canopy tower behind me is the Madre de Dios River, the Mother of God. These are the headwaters of the Amazon River, the protector of the earth. I'm going to scamper up this canopy tower about 50 feet. You can watch with our drone what it looks like up above. But scientists are concerned that for the first time, the Amazon is going to become a net contributor to CO2. It's lost about 20% of its forest, and scientists are increasingly concerned that it may be lost forever, maybe changed forever. And this is what we would be missing. This breathtaking, literally, view of the canopy and the river and everything beyond. And over the next couple of days, we're going to explain exactly how this can be saved and who the people are who are trying to save it. Robin.
All right, catch your breath there, Matt. Thank you for being there with us. We appreciate it. I know. Bless your heart. Thanks so much. Thank you. Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Biden arrives in Scotland ahead of COP26. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
President Biden has touched down in Edinburgh. He's hoping that his plans to invest more than $500 billion against climate change will influence other leaders. Cecilia Vega is traveling with the president. She joins us now. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hey, George, good morning from a windy Scotland this morning here. President Biden, you said it, he just touched down. We've got that video coming in right now. He's got a tough sell here. That's the reality for him this morning. He needs to convince these other countries, as David was saying, that America can actually lead on climate. You mentioned that domestic program back home on climate change, $555 billion in that social infrastructure package. That's a record amount of money being dedicated by the federal government to fighting climate change. But on its own, experts say that's not going to get the president to his goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030. I pushed him on this yesterday at his first press conference here on this foreign trip abroad. He says he's still convinced he can actually meet that goal. But this morning, we've been talking about this. The president and other world leaders of these richest countries around the world, they're facing a lot of heat right now for what's been seen as setting only these modest goals on climate back home. The president's going to really be laying out some plans to help these developing nations, what David was just talking about. But, George, he's going to be met with a lot of skepticism here. That's the reality on the ground as he heads into this conference in Glasgow today. So many world leaders around the country have seen so many other American presidents lay out these plans to fight climate change only to be met with resistance back home. That's certainly what's happening to President Biden in his early administration so far, George.
And see, on another front, we learned that the White House press secretary Jen Psaki has tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, this is a big deal. She's not on this trip. She stayed behind because she said she had a family emergency, and she announced yesterday that a member of her household had tested positive. She tested positive yesterday after testing negative for 4 days in a row. She says she is vaccinated. She's only experiencing mild symptoms. But the big question is what kind of contact she had with the president. She says she last saw President Biden in person on Tuesday. They were outside. They wore masks. They were socially distanced. And we're told by the White House that President Biden tested negative yesterday on his way into Scotland here, George.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. COP26 Global Climate Summit gets underway. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
With Advanced Same Day, you get the parts you need fast. Get free delivery today.
I want to get right to our top story. Leaders from around the world gathering in Scotland for the Global Climate Summit.
President Biden just landed in Scotland for the summit moments ago. They're going to address the existential threat to our planet, propose solutions as well. Some are calling it the last best hope to tackle the crisis.
And we are all over the world. Full team coverage this morning, kicking off an ABC News event that will take you live from that global summit to the Amazon rainforest, to India, even Ginger doing some climbing. She's atop a wind farm right here in the U.S., hundreds of feet in the air.
But first, World News Tonight anchor David Muir is going to start us off. He's there live in Scotland for us. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Robin, George, TJ. Great to be with you this morning. And as you mentioned, the stakes could not be higher here. This crucial UN climate summit already underway. President Biden among the world leaders gathering here shortly. You just showed Air Force One touching down, nearly 200 countries, and all, of course, here with one purpose: to slow down what we're already seeing with global warming. And President Biden, of course, faces the task of signaling to the world now that the U.S. will be at the forefront of this fight after the U.S. pulled out of the Paris climate deal several years back. And some stark words here at the start of this summit, the head of the UN Climate Office declaring government leaders face two choices here in Glasgow. She said they can sharply cut greenhouse gas emissions and help countries survive what's becoming a hotter, a harsher world, or we accept that humanity faces a bleak future on this planet. I can tell you many here were disappointed more did not come out of the G20 this weekend in Rome. Leaders of the wealthiest nations offering pledges that were not as specific as many had hoped for. Carbon neutrality by or around mid-century, ending government financing for coal-fired power in other countries, but no firm deadline for phasing it out in their own countries. China's President Xi and Russia's Vladimir Putin are not here. President Biden overnight calling it disappointing, saying they basically didn't show up with any commitments. And a number to think about here as we're on the air this morning. The world has warmed more in the last 29 years than in the previous 110 years. This is accelerating. It is worrisome. And Robin, I can tell you, the billboards here in Glasgow as we were driving through the city just this morning, they say it all as these leaders arrive here. They say the world is looking at you.
Yes, and you mentioned the wealthier nations, David. One of the big debates, how wealthier nations help developing nations who are truly feeling the effects of climate change.
You know, that's a really good question, Robin. It's a question that they've had for years, and they're going to tackle it again at this summit. You're absolutely right. That remains a huge part of this debate. How will the developed nations, the wealthiest of nations, help so many of the smaller nations? In so many cases, they contribute so little to global warming, and yet they are the ones paying the biggest price. In our next half hour, I'm going to be taking you to southern Madagascar, where more than 1 million people are in desperate need of food right now, where the children need the world's help right now, Robin. And as you know, we're just back, the first American network to get access to that country, to fly into the South. And more than just heartbreaking, Robin, it really signals to everyone around the world that global warming isn't something we worry about a couple of years, a decade from now. It is here. And these children, the faces, these children in their eyes, it'll tell you we need to act now.
We look forward to your report in our next half hour, David. Thank you. Well, hey there, GMA fans.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And we are going to switch gears now, and let's take a look at your weather across the United States for this Tuesday. And here's a look at your weather across the United States for this Tuesday. As you can see, is dry along here a little bit, and dry over here and all down here. But right here and here, you see some blue. That is mixed precipitation. Then over here, some rain with mixed precipitation as well. Rain over here as well, and mixed precipitation here, and rain over here as well, and some rain / thunderstorms over here, and a little bit of rain over here on the edge of Florida. And as you can see, all of here is dry as well. And that is a look at the weather across the United States for this Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Now let's take a look at this. A look at India's relation on coal. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Come spend the day shopping around the Nordstrom flagship store with me. Today I got to spend the day picking out and trying on so...
Now to India, one of the world's biggest polluters with no sign of slowing down. Our James Longman is there at the Taj Mahal with a closer look at India's heavy reliance on coal. Good morning to you, James.
Yeah, good morning, guys, and welcome to the Taj Mahal. It is absolutely incredible, but we're here because India is the third biggest polluter after the United States and China. But actually, over the next 20 years, its energy needs are going to outpace every other country. And with so much more development to do, the race is on to cut emissions. But India has actually said that they don't want to commit to the net zero. They say a much better system would be to link targets with a country's income. We have crisscrossed this country looking at its coal use. 1.3 billion Indians, and 70% of the energy here is generated by coal. And they're actually expanding coal plants. But India is also doing amazing things with renewables, harnessing the power of the sun. One day, its energy could power our homes too. We should say that the average Indian generates far less carbon than the average American, but with so many people living here, India's green future is necessary if we're all going to beat climate change. Guys.
All right, James, thank you. Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for...
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And let's take a look at this. How wind energy can help save the planet. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Our extensive coverage is taking us on a whirlwind adventure this morning. For our GMA cover story, we're now heading to the top. Well, Ginger's heading to the top of a wind turbine, and that's where she is standing. She's climbing. It's there in Roaring Branch, Pennsylvania, to bring us a closer look at how wind energy can help save the planet and create jobs. Good morning again, Ginger.
Good morning to you, Robin. I think it's don't look down was what I was told. But we are, of course, safely up here, and there's really no better way to feel the power of the wind. And yes, it is a very windy morning here. The energy that is being harnessed is something we've done from thousands of years, but not quite like we are today. Now, at this point, wind energy is cheaper than nuclear and coal. It is the same price as natural gas. It only makes up 8% of our power grid in this nation for now, but that's about to change.
Coast to coast, there are 69,000 wind turbines churning out clean electricity in our nation. They're almost like towering troopers in the effort to slow global warming.
Can I go to the left?
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, wind turbine service technician jobs are going to increase by 68% by the year 2030. That makes them the second fastest growing occupation in the United States. For Ava Gonzalez, working on a wind farm in Lyford, Texas, has been a windfall.
The reason I made the transition from the oil and gas industry, because I realized that I wanted to start taking care of the environment.
Fueled by the Biden administration's plan to deploy enough new offshore wind farms to power more than 10 million homes by the end of the decade, the wind business is booming. One study finds that the expansion of offshore wind farming could pump more than $100 billion into the global economy.
They are doing it because it's an area that they can make a profit. So it's good business as well as good for the environment.
So when you talk about the size of a wind turbine, the average one is about 300 feet high. That's like the Statue of Liberty. And from blade to blade, they can be more than a football field wide. Even though these look like huge wind turbines, and they are, but they're kind of babies in the industry. 2.3 megawatts. They're now putting in 5 and 6 megawatts. And these are nothing compared to the behemoths that are going in offshore.
We visited the country's first operational offshore wind farm in Rhode Island. And Governor Daniel McKee believes the state will transition to 100% renewable energy by 2030.
The other Revolution Wind is on the table right now with 50 wind turbines that'll be up and operating by 2023. 270,000 homes will be powered by that wind farm about 15 miles off the New England coast. 7 new and far bigger offshore wind farms will break ground, or rather break water, in the next 3 years. That should create 80,000 new jobs and enough electricity to hit that Biden administration goal of powering 10 million homes with wind. Plus, all that clean energy cuts carbon emissions big time, the equivalent of taking nearly 17 million cars off the road for an entire year.
I love my job. I get up every morning. I love what I do, and I don't see myself doing anything else. I want to leave a better tomorrow for my family.
We're up here with wind technicians. It's amazing what they do every day. And I got to tell you that every part of a turbine is recyclable except the blades. And whenever I post about this, that's the first thing people see. There have been a lot of articles saying, hey, but these are going to fill up landfills. And now that we're putting more in, where do those go? That is a huge issue right now. The good news, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory has created a new resin that can make a 100% recyclable, reusable blade. Not only is it going to be reusable, but they'll be able to make them on site. That'll take away all the transportation issues, and I'm sure many of you have seen them kind of down the highway on these big trucks. It's going to make it a whole lot better. Wow. And I will say, guys, I have to tell you, too, there's no elevator up here, so we did climb. It's pretty intense.
Get a workout on top of everything else. Both you and Matt this morning. Okay, Ginger, thanks very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fan.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Cool, cool, cool. And let's take a look at this. Money Monday. Secrets for saving on holiday travel. Let's take a look at that right now and get some tips for all of you.
There's a new way to collaborate, and it's faster.
Welcome back to GMA3, everybody. Thanksgiving right around the corner. And if you haven't booked your tickets home yet, you're in luck.
Yeah, we rarely say that, but yeah, you're in luck. Our next guest has traveled the world for over 20 years using credit card points, and today he is sharing his tips to get us home for the holidays for less money, or in some cases, for free. Joining us now is the founder of The Points Partner, Owen Beanie. Thank you for being with us. All right, so you use reward credit cards to maximize your travel plans, but a lot of people think it's counterintuitive to pay for a credit card to get free points.
Okay, there are two types of credit cards. There are ones that have annual fees, and there are ones that don't have annual fees. Now, they both get you those yummy points that give you the free travel. However, the ones with the annual fees give you more points every time you swipe. And more importantly, they are a key. They unlock what's called the transfer partners. Now, the two of you are looking at me like I'm insane right now. Okay, so you have credit card points, and if you have a cool credit card with them, they let you transfer those points out of the credit card companies into frequent flyer programs of airlines, and they become air miles. And that's where the real value is. So if you don't know how to transfer your points, that's the bit that you need to learn how to do. Now, we're still talking about annual fees, right? People always assume that if you have a card with an annual fee, you're paying it forever. You don't need to close the credit card if you don't want that card anymore. You can just turn it over, and on the back you can phone the number and simply ask them, please can I downgrade this card to one with no annual fee, and they'll happily send you out another one, and you can chuck that at the back of your closet.
All right, and so if you're traveling for the holidays, what are your general tips for people to save money?
Okay, so the starting point is always try and book your ticket one way if you're on miles. We all grew up and we were told, always book a round trip, it's cheaper, right? If you're paying for your ticket, yes, that is still the case. But I'm the points partner. I don't want you to pay for your ticket. Use your points, use your air miles. Search one way, book one way. It will work out cheaper. If the price is, say, 10,000 points one way, but 20,000 points the other, they're going to round it up and they'll say, oh, it's 40. No. My way is we'll book 2 one-way tickets and we'll take the cheaper price. Right? The second thing I would say is, again, check your transfer partners. If people always assume that you have to fly on Delta, United, American, like the big three. And that's okay if that has the perfect seat for you, but you don't have to give your money or your miles to them. They are all a part of these alliances. All these airlines connect to each other, right? So you can see who else you can transfer to, and maybe you can book that same Delta or United or American seat, but for less miles, booking it through another airline. I do it all the time. Let's say you want to fly on Delta. A partner of theirs is Air France. You can book the same seat on Air France for half the price. And that's where it starts to get interesting. And for those people that don't have points, don't have miles yet, and are looking at the three of us like, okay, I'll give you a tip also. If you're still paying for your tickets, there's something called dead weeks, right? These are the 2 weeks that follow the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas. The week after, they are the quietest weeks of the year, and the flights are way cheaper. So take a simple extra day off of work and come back a day later. You'll save yourself 50, 60, 70% on a paid ticket by using those dead weeks.
Wow, that's it. Oh, good to have you in studio with us as well, man.
My pleasure. It's great to be back in the studio.
Thank you. We loved having you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our...
Okay, and there you go on that video and that information on money and saving for the holiday travel. Good information there. And we are going to switch gears now, and let's go into some entertainment news. And in entertainment news, Alec Baldwin speaks out for the first time since on-set shooting. Let's take a listen to that video from Entertainment Tonight.
For Washington liberals, a $3 trillion power grab is their wildest fantasy.
It's an active investigation in terms of a woman dying. She was my friend.
The only person that Alec Baldwin should be speaking to is his lawyer.
The day I arrived in Santa Fe to start shooting, I took her to dinner with Joel, the director.
Alec was candid, talking with the paparazzi in Vermont for 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
I talk to the cops every day.
But was speaking out a smart move? We asked 2 experts, media analyst Joe Concha and legal expert Rachel Stockman, if his comments could affect his case. Prosecutors are considering whether or not Alec could be charged with a crime.
To me, it just seemed like a bit of a chaotic situation.
We were a very,
Alec Baldwin makes it hard to have sympathy for him when he is hushing his wife, when he's being rude and dismissive to his wife that was simply trying to help him.
You guys, you know what? No details.
But do do me a favor? I'm gonna answer the question.
Considering he already has enough bad press right now, the fact that he delivered this interview in this way, I don't think necessarily helps him in the court of public opinion.
We're eagerly awaiting for the Sheriff's Department to tell us what their investigation has yielded. What else do you have?
I think it was Alec Baldwin's attempt to get the paparazzi essentially off his back. I don't think his attorneys would have said, okay, you can go ahead and speak to them. I felt like it was almost a desperate move on his part.
But you met with her family in the day?
Yes,
her
I
name
met
is
with her
Helena. If you're spending this much time waiting for us, you should
don't know
her name.
Ilaria posted these Halloween pics of Alec and their 6 kids and wrote, "Parenting through this has been an intense experience to say the least. Today, we rally to give them a holiday."
Free advice for Alec Baldwin. Maybe try to get away to somewhere where the press can't find you. Order in for a while and wait for this to blow over in terms of it being one of the top stories in our news cycle.
Do you think production will start up again on
No, I doubt it necessarily.
And sadly, we're learning the final words spoken by cinematographer Helena Hutchins. According to the LA Times, after the bullet hit her, a crew member heard Helena say, "That was no good. That was no good at all."
We were a very, very, well-oiled crew shooting a film together, and then this horrible event happened.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this Tuesday edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and see you back here tomorrow for another edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. Bye now.